Mel Gibson once said something on camera that Hollywood never wanted people to hear. He openly claimed the industry runs on ugly rules. And he didn't say it quietly in private. He said it flat out in an interview, years before people were ready to listen.
Got full of the whole industry. I mean, it's a very strange place, Hollywood. But it's an odd place. And you imagine all these horror stories there that you think, boy, it seems as if I'm being sacrificed over here. No, that couldn't be true. And then you realize that it is.
Read that again and let it sink in. That's not a joke or an actor being edgy. It's a man describing something he says he actually watched happen. And it's only the beginning of the story of how Hollywood tried to erase him. To understand why Gibson got silenced, you first have to understand who he was before all this. Here's the thing about most big Hollywood actors. The system builds them. Studios pick young, hungry talent, control their whole image, and slowly make them owe favors to powerful people. By the time they reach the top, they already know exactly what they can and can't say. Gibson never went through that. He came from Australia and became famous almost overnight thanks to Mad Max. No studio built him, and no executive could claim they made him. That matters, because when Gibson walked into the most powerful rooms in the industry, he hadn't spent years being trained to stay quiet about what he saw.
Convictions and a certain line of attack. No matter how strong you are going to be affected by this place. It's going to divert you from where you were going.
Sure.
You're going to be diverted. When I came over here, I was in my mid-20s.
Right.
The first time I really came over here. You know, I had a whole bunch of weird paranoid suspicions about what the hell was going on because there was a lot of stuff I couldn't understand.
Right.
And nobody was really bothering to explain it to me.
They don't.
And I formed a bunch of opinions about the town and about the people in it that were like, surely that couldn't be, because a whole place can't be like, weird town, where the stranger wanders in and all the people are in the bar and they all shut up when he looks at them and they tell you don't go into the house on the hill.
And what he saw wasn't just casting couch gossip. Gibson has talked on camera about Jeffrey Epstein and the powerful circles Epstein moved in Hollywood and beyond. In his own words, Gibson said he had strange, paranoid suspicions about what was going on around him, and nobody would ever explain it to him. He told himself he must be wrong, and that he was just being paranoid, and later realized he'd been right the whole time.
Situation. So when you read it, it's a pretty convincing document. And you're right, nobody sued him for it.
Yeah.
It's pretty scary.
So keep that in mind going forward. Gibson wasn't some outsider guessing from the internet. He was actually in the room. And once you understand that, everything he said and did next lands differently. I know this sounds like a lot to take in. A famous actor claiming he saw dark things in the most powerful rooms in entertainment sounds like a movie plot. But stick with me, because the more you learn about what happened right after he started talking, the harder it is to dismiss. Let's talk about 2004, where it all starts to click. Gibson decided to make a film about the life of Jesus. It should have been simple, but every major studio said no. Fox, Disney, Universal, nobody wanted to touch it.
Everybody owes Mel Gibson an apology. That man was surrounded by demons and still walked away with his soul. Did you know when he made that movie, Passion of the Christ, Disney, Warner Bros., Universal, and Fox, none of those big studios wanted it? And that movie angered them because it showed big studios weren't needed. I don't know if people really understand how controversial this film was when it first came out. It was more controversial than that Netflix film, Cuties. Yeah. And before he even shot a single frame, the Anti-Defamation League criticized the script because of the accurate portrayal of what happened during the crucifixion of Jesus. Mel Gibson paid for the entire production himself, $45 million at the time, equivalent to $100 million today. He released Passion of the Christ on Ash Wednesday, made $83 million in its opening weekend, and $612 million worldwide. They all went against this man, and he still made millions off the movie.
The media piled on right after. They called the film dangerous and hateful. Honestly, it felt less like normal criticism and more like a coordinated effort to bury the project before regular people could even watch it. So what did Gibson do? He didn't wait for permission or beg a studio to change its mind. He put up $45 million of his own money and made the film himself, from start to finish.
it seemed like there was resistance to that movie.
Oh yeah, no, there was
Which I thought was very strange. There was like Hollywood resistance to that movie. Like people didn't like that you were making it. It seemed like.
Yeah, there was a lot of opposition to it, and I don't know. I think if you ever hit on that subject matter, you're gonna get people going because,
Of course.
it's big subject matter, and it's like And my contention is, when I was making it, it was like, you're making this film, and the idea was that we're all responsible for this, that his sacrifice was for all mankind, and that for all our ills and all the things in our fallen nature, it was a redemption. So, and I believe that, I actually am, I was born into a Catholic family. I'm very Christian in my beliefs, So I do actually believe this stuff to the full. So depicting that was an honor, but it was also, you got the daylights beat out of you for it.
Yeah, because there's resistance, first of all, from secular Hollywood, where for whatever reason, Christianity is the one religion that you're allowed to disparage.
And here's where it gets wild. The film made over $600 million at the box office, and not one of the studios that rejected him saw a single cent. Think about what that proved. It showed the whole industry that the people guarding Hollywood's front door weren't really guarding anything special. An outsider who believed in his project could walk right past all of them and still win. That terrified the people running the system more than any controversy could, because if one person could do it, others might believe they could too. That's the moment everything changed for Gibson. Before, he was just an actor with strong opinions. After, he was living proof that the gatekeeping system could be beaten, and that made him a real problem they needed to solve. So the same system looked for a new way to bring him down, and unfortunately, they found one: his struggle with alcohol.
An alcoholic, right? I did drugs, I did alcohol, so, and there was nothing that could stop me from doing that. Nothing. So I was really kind of you're on a downhill run. So I regard the fact that I was able to appeal to something greater than myself to help me and actually stop me doing that. I think that's a miracle. It is. For me, it is. And for many, so.
Well, that is the thing about AA, right? It's part of the whole process is appealing to a higher power.
Sure. It's a spiritual program.
Yeah.
Because you're suffering your spiritual malady.
Yeah.
So it's a spiritual cure.
He's also spoken with real, honest regret about that period of his life.
You can't win. And don't drink so much. My mother told me that too. She said, don't drink, son, it'll ruin your life. And I was like, what does she mean by that? When you're 20, you don't understand these things. So, I think I just would have been more patient, not rush into things. I'm really impulsive.
That part is fair, a human being honestly owning a hard chapter. But here's the part that should bother you. Private phone calls Gibson made were recorded without his permission and then leaked to the media at exactly the right moment to do maximum damage. That kind of timing doesn't happen by accident. Someone chose that moment on purpose.
Don't work around in tight clothes. I stay at home for most of the
You go out
time.
in public and it's an embarrassment to me. You look like a bitch on heat. And if you get by a pack of it'll be your fault. All right?
Oh, wow.
Because you provoked it.
I'll report her to the people that take fucking money from the wetback, okay?
Oh my gosh.
Slap the side of the head. All right?
You just crashed
That's-
out.
And that's bad.
Took a pause on that.
He's got a history of wilding. Oh,
So
man.
let's get this straight here. Mel Gibson, I believe, is still definitely a Christian. This is exhibit A of why Christians need Jesus, because we all do wrong. Now, he has also talked about how his faith has gotten a lot stronger recently. So that was probably one of those times where the alcohol was taking over. Spirits will get on you and cause you to do things that are, well, as we just saw. But no excuses, that was dead wrong, all the way wrong.
Then came Ari Emanuel, one of the most powerful talent agents in Hollywood. He published an open letter, not a quiet word behind the scenes, but a public letter, demanding the whole industry cut Gibson off completely. And the industry listened. Doors closed on him everywhere at once, like someone flipped a switch. But think about what that really told everyone else watching. This wasn't just punishment for Gibson. It was a warning to every actor, director, and writer who might ever think about speaking up. Step out of line, and we won't just slow your career. We'll erase you completely, and we'll make sure everyone sees it. Now here's where it stops making sense, unless you understand what was really going on. If Hollywood truly cared about protecting people, especially children, you'd expect them to hold everyone to the same standard. They don't. Not even close. Comedian Cat Williams has spoken openly, more than once, about what really happens behind the scenes. And his comments line up with what Gibson had been saying for years.
Weinstein, like, these guys knew what these extremists liked and provided it. And provided the way for you to to have $1 billion and not create a fantasy island type environment has not existed throughout history.
Take Harvey Weinstein. He got away with predatory behavior openly for over 20 years. Agents knew, executives knew, and he still got invited to every premiere. Still got funded, still got celebrated year after year. Then there's Roman Polanski, who fled the US after being convicted of assaulting a 13-year-old girl. He's lived abroad as a fugitive ever since, and Hollywood still gave him an award, with the whole room standing and clapping while he wasn't even in the country.
Weinstein did, and according to Xavier Poussard's earlier reporting, Epstein and Harvey got into some massive fight in Paris one night, and the exact nature of the argument is not known, but it is understood that Epstein wanted to have access to cast women in Harvey Weinstein's films, okay? Young women in the film. So again, presenting himself as some sort of a casting director. Now, regarding Trump, if you connect the dots there, Trump rather famously ran beauty pageants, okay? Pageants, by the way, freak me out in general, the origins of it. I wish I knew less. Started by the Carneys. P.T. Barnum created it in the Victorian.
Directors like Victor Salva and Bryan Singer have faced serious, well-documented accusations involving minors, and they kept working and kept getting funded. Nobody organized a boycott letter for them. Sit with that comparison. Gibson said offensive things during a very public personal breakdown, and Hollywood blacklisted him for over 10 years. Meanwhile, men accused of actual crimes against children kept their careers, their money, and their awards. That's not a moral standard. That's a signal. What it tells you is that Gibson wasn't punished for what he said out loud. He was punished for refusing to stay quiet about what he saw. Think of it this way. If you're running a system built on secrets, the people who break the rules of decency aren't your biggest threat. The people who break your silence are. Weinstein and Polanski kept the secret. Gibson didn't. That's the whole difference. And once you see it, the double standard makes sense. Fast forward to recent years, and the same pattern repeats almost word for word. Gibson attached his name to Sound of Freedom, a film about child trafficking and the powerful people who protect those networks. It follows a father in Honduras whose kids are lured away by a fake talent scout and sold into trafficking, and a former agent who gives up everything to save them.
One of the most disturbing problems in our world today is human trafficking, and particularly the trafficking of Our future is our children. Now, the first step in eradicating this crime is awareness. Go see Sound of Freedom.
Major studios refused to distribute it. The same industry that spent decades protecting men like Polanski and Weinstein suddenly discovered a deep concern that the content was too much for audiences. Funny how that works. Then came the smear campaign, right on cue. Fake quotes spread online, things designed to make Gibson sound crazy, quotes he never actually said. The goal was never to prove the film wrong. It was to make people stop taking Gibson seriously before they even watched it. That's usually how it works. When you can't argue with what someone is saying, you attack the person instead, and Hollywood has had decades of practice at it. But here's what makes this case different. This time, Gibson wasn't the only one talking. Jim Caviezel, who played Jesus in Gibson's film, stood right beside him and helped bring Sound of Freedom to life. Two men already labeled difficult by the same industry, standing together on the same message, which is exactly why the attacks came so fast and so hard. A lone voice is easy to dismiss. Two voices backed by a movie that made hundreds of millions is much harder to ignore. So now I want to know what you think. Do you believe Gibson was telling the truth all along? See you in the next video.